Hi everyone,
I'm Anna.
I'm Rina.
I'm Trisha, and you're listening to My Book Bestie Said It's Good, a podcast by three friends with different book tastes. Sit back, relax, and get bookish with us. Today, we're talking about Red Rising, the book we read for book club. Of course, I will have to ask Anna, as our fantasy expert, what did you think about this book?
You put me on the spotlight here.
Do you like how that feels? Mm-hmm.
Red Rising. I actually gave it 5 stars.
Oh, wow.
I did listen to the graphic audio, so I think it helped a lot. But it was really fun. It was super fast-paced. Always something happening. I loved it.
Did you think your rating was influenced by the fact that you listened to a graphic audio instead
Yes.
of reading?
Mm-hmm.
I
For
mean,
sure.
I listened to the graphic audio as well, and it was the first graphic audio that I've listened to. It is crazy. Like, wow, they put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, that's true. So you didn't read it at all. You just listened
Yeah.
to the graphic
Mhm.
audio,
Yeah.
like both of you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You did a mix, right?
Yeah, like I always do.
Which one did you prefer?
I mean, at some point, I think I'm also not used to graphic audios because I was a bit distracted with the sounds.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it has like a background
Mhm.
music, it was making me not focus on what they were saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think this is a very personal experience. But I did feel like I understood more of the book while I was reading. It's that type of book that I would need to read. I listened to a few parts of it, but at some point I kind of needed to read so I really understand what's going on. And also there's a lot of terms like sling blade and graph boots and stuff like this that made me super confused when I heard it. And when I actually read it, I don't know, they were making more sense in my mind.
I think it's because you have more time to process what you're reading
Exactly.
instead of listening to it and it keeps going and you're like, oh my God, I can't miss a thing.
Yes, and I also thought that I couldn't keep up with what was happening because it's so out of my comfort zone to read a book like this that I felt like I needed to read to understand.
Can I ask at what speed did you listen to the audiobook?
Like 1 or 1.2, which is like
Slow for you.
very slow for me. I usually listen at 1.75 or something like this.
That's crazy.
I never listened to that speed, but with this one I started at 1, then it was too slow and I put 1.2, and there were parts that I listened like 1.5. Later on it started getting a bit dragged or repetitive, I don't know, and so 1.5 was enough.
When did you think it was starting to get repetitive?
Like part 2?
With the houses?
Yeah, the games.
When they were...
And it
I love
started,
that part.
No, we'll get to that. It was just a lot of stuff like, oh, they're betraying me. We're gonna fight.
Yeah.
Now I'm starving, and then so I was like, okay, 1.5. Move on.
Oh, that's fair.
Move on.
Yeah, but not all the time. Like sometimes I needed to like go back to 1.2 to like focus on what was going on because it was dramatized. Sometimes I needed to like make it a little bit faster.
And were you able to visualize more because you listened to the graphic audio?
Yes. No?
Silence. I do think I had more time to visualize it while I was reading it. Just because I didn't think the sounds made that much of an impression on me. I don't know.
Oh,
to
it's
say
funny.
about
No,
this.
it's funny. It's funny to have a different perspective of a graphic audio because, for example, for me, when I read, I'm already in the world. But in the graphic audio, it's double
It's
that.
immersive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there.
I think it's supposed to be immersive, but
Not for you.
yes. When they were fighting, for example, there were some fighting scenes that it made it more real. But I do still think that just trying to imagine it from reading, it's better for me.
Was this your first graphic audio?
Yes. So I think I just maybe need to get used to it.
I don't know if there are romance graphic audios, but maybe you could try. No.
I'm not sure I want to hear them smooching. Like... Yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that to myself. It makes sense for fantasy. Maybe I just need to get used to it.
I completely agree that it makes sense to fantasy. It just makes everything more epic. I usually can't visualize things very well, but with the graphic audio, it was easier for me to imagine the fight scenes. And, you know, when something was important, there was this background music showing that it was important, you know. It was a really cool experience, but I'm not sure that I love it that much in the sense that maybe I would rather watch a movie to have that type of experience.
Okay.
But it's really cool. Of course, if I have to decide between a regular audiobook or a graphic audiobook, I would probably always choose the graphic, just because it helps me visualize. It was fun.
Super fun.
A cool experience. Yeah.
I also love graphic audio.
What did you think about Darrow, our main character?
Now we're getting more into the book.
Darrow for me is a complicated character. I love the fact that sometimes I couldn't understand what he actually was thinking and what he actually wants to accomplish. More after he becomes a gold, because some of his attitudes show that he is still thinking about the Reds and he wants justice for the Reds. I was going to say vengeance, but vengeance is
the wrong word to describe him. I also think so.
You can still see that he wants justice for the Reds, but I'm also like, is he turning into a gold? Because he starts to think like a gold sometimes.
I do think he just saw that the grass sometimes is not greener on the other side. For sure, they have a better life than the Reds, but it's also kind of tough. In the beginning of the book, I thought that the golds would be like this royalty, these superior people that have a really good life, but then you kind of go into the school and you see how the dynamics are, and it's like, it's not what I was expecting the author to do. I was not expecting them to have to suffer as well.
But I think it makes sense for them to suffer because they're educating them for the reality of also having to put down other colors in the sun.
Yes, but I do think it is very different from how, let's say, royalty is pictured in other books. Not royalty, but like the superior chain.
But I don't think I don't think we can compare it to royalty, in my opinion. It's more political. How do you say, like
a hierarchy?
Yeah.
Classes.
Exactly.
Yes. I just want to add that it depends what type of gold you are, because they
also,
even
they
inside
have
the golds, they have the golds that are meant to like rule, and they have the golds that are just sitting at home being, cuddled by the pinks and the other colors.
So even inside the golds, there's a
hierarchy.
We see this in the houses, in the families,
yes,
and they're all against each other and trying to see who's best.
Yeah, I just thought the dynamics were a bit different compared to other books I read.
Would you be able to say a book that you could try and compare it to?
It's not even in terms of, I'm not going to call them royalty, but in other books where there's powerful people, they are usually like rich, and then they don't really, I don't know, they don't really like
work for it.
Yeah, kind of like that, and I mean, some of them are also like this, but I felt that they were more like,
they had to fight to get their place.
Yes.
I didn't read The Hunger Games, but from the movies it reminded me a bit of it, because of the people in power watching the others playing some games. The difference is that the ones playing the games were also golds.
Yeah. The sons of the golds.
Yeah, which is really strange to put your own children.
I think it's just again, dick measuring, kind of like my kid's better than yours. He's gonna win this. You chose these people for your house, and you're gonna lose, etc.
Yeah,
I think
right.
it's more like this.
Putting your own child's life at risk is very.
Do they care though?
It's kind of maybe how they grow up and their mentality.
Yeah.
I don't feel that they are very close to each other.
Yeah,
they're very
they don't
kind
seem
of cold. Yeah, and at some point, Darrow says this. He says that they're not a real family, like referring to someone. He was saying that they don't feel love. Family for them is just about alliances, not about love. Yeah. And he has a real family, and he felt love towards his family, and not like
pride
the goals.
Thing as well. To defend the honor of the name of my family. And they also spoke about this, let's call it fake Darwinism or extreme Darwinism, where they not only do the survival of the fittest in the beginning, but they do the games to really have the best of the best. That was a really cool idea. I like that. I mean, not for real life, but for a fantasy book.
This that you just said just reminded me of Severus.
I loved Severus.
Yeah. Why? Because he was considered one of the weakest, and he was like thriving. I was thinking that he's the perfect example of how you can still survive, even if you're considered weak by others. I really love this character. I think he was one of my favorite characters.
Same.
And I do feel like his sense of justice is also good for the type of background that he has.
Right? Because he's the son of one of the heads of Mars. Yeah.
Yes. yes.
I forgot about the houses.
Yeah.
It's a lot of names, a lot of...
He is the proctor of the house where Darrow is in.
Was.
This part of the book was so complicated for me because of all of the politics. On the last episode, we talked about the fact that I didn't like politics. It's true. And then I go and read a book full of it. And I was just like, oh my God.
But you were able to understand.
Yeah.
I think so. But it was honestly kind of boring for me. This part where...
The fake war.
Yes, exactly. It was very boring for me.
Okay.
I was just trying to keep up and trying to understand the dynamics between all of the houses. But it's not the direction where I thought the book was going to go to. In the beginning, I was like... I don't know if I like this. And then I got super interested when like he died and then resurrected and then they were changing him to become a gold. And I was like, oh, he's gonna go to this institute. But the way it played out in the institute was really not what I was expecting.
Same. I thought he was going like to a college or something.
Exactly, not literally go to a war.
But it's their college.
Yeah, I understood that, but I was kind of disappointed / underwhelmed.
But also it makes sense because he already had a lot of knowledge and they had to make an exam about their level of knowledge. So why would they then go to a college where they wouldn't learn anything else?
Yeah, you have a point. And I was expecting them to fight, but maybe not full on Hunger Games style, you know?
Like duels or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was also to create an hierarchy. The game was basically to make others slaves of your house and your house to win. I don't know the second book, so I'm just going to speak. Maybe when they get out of the college, this is still going on. The others are still kind of the slaves of that house.
How does this play out with the slaves that Darrow freed? Because he basically was kicked out of his house.
Mm-hmm.
And he formed kind of his own thing by freeing other people. How do these people fit in society?
Well, supposedly they would be under his command, but they are free, supposedly.
The thing is, in the end, they do say that real life is not the game.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to read the second book. I don't think I will.
Yeah, I won't.
I will.
I was not interested enough to continue.
But maybe I'll have to read the second one and see.
And let us know.
But I really enjoyed the dynamics within the war and within the houses. Because, for example, Darrow's house, so I think House of Mars, they divided themselves within the house to show like they were the boss or who could get more resources, who would be stronger, or who could lead best. And I love that part in the sense of, I think it was on purpose to try to divide the houses within themselves. I think Darrow showed a lot of strength and showed that he was able to rule.
We see this man completely differently, I'm sorry.
Really?
He's egocentric, overconfident, and a tiny dictator. I don't like him at all.
Overconfident, I agree completely, because at the third time he went into a trap. I was like, how did you not see this coming?
He's always the best. He doesn't think he's going to fall for a trap. He's always saying, these kids are playing. I'm not like that. I don't need to sleep.
But see, that's exactly where I got conflicted in trying to understand if he was actually still on the path to free the Reds, or if he was actually becoming a gold mentality.
Yeah, I understand.
I know what you mean, this duality within himself, that he's basically fighting and trying to also understand what he thinks about after knowing everything.
But if you go back to the first chapter, when he is in the mines, he has the same type of attitude towards the people above him. Like his uncle is just a drunk and his colleagues are all just laughing and they don't take things seriously. He's the best, he's the hell diver, he's the one with the biggest balls.
He can flick his fingers faster than everyone else.
He's the hero. He has this hero complex. And he is always better than everyone else. It's like Ronaldo. I may not be the best, but in my head, I'm the best.
I don't know at what point that's also like fake confidence to try to survive. Sometimes it give off those vibes. But I agree with you, but I saw that sometimes he was like, is this what the House of Ares, Sons of Ares, would want me to be doing? He has to survive for the Reds.
But I also see sometimes that it might be a way of him trying to justify his evil actions. Even with EO, it's like, oh, this is what EO would want from me. Or
I don't know. Because there you see his struggle when he kills
the friend.
Only one of
Julian.
them can. Yeah, Julian. Exactly.
He was his first kill.
Yeah.
I think that's why it was harder for him.
Not only that, but it kind of befriended him. And it's also very messed up because he comes from a very high family, and the fact that then he knows he's gonna see his brother. And yeah, I also didn't like the fact that he lied about killing him.
He didn't lie.
I understand why.
He didn't lie.
He didn't tell the truth.
Yeah, but he didn't lie.
Well, he
omitted.
He omitted the truth.
It's a white lie.
He asked him, "Who did you kill?" And did he say someone else, or he just didn't answer?
I think he didn't answer.
Yeah, I think if he was honest at first, maybe the other one would have forgiven him.
No,
he would have died.
Yeah,
I agree
on the spot.
Yeah.
I think only after they developed a bit more friendship,
he was able to not kill him. Automatically? Okay.
You talked about where the Reds live. I have to bring this up. They have suits where they pee and poop. Like diapers.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have a problem with diapers?
I don't have a problem with diapers, but I had a really hard time picturing this.
I think I didn't want to picture it.
He had to learn not to do it. There's a point when he comes to the surface where they mention that he had to learn to not do it.
To not poop whenever he wants, to wait to actually do it in the place he's
Imagine you're
supposed
just
to do it.
having a conversation and someone is just like, and this is normal.
But I also think this process of being changed by Matteo was an interesting part of the book for me. How the other guy, Mickey, changed him physically, but this person changed him like internally. I don't know, like not changed him, but taught him.
Because he also every time he slept, there was information being put in his brain, right?
Yeah.
There was we should have this in real life.
I know, right? So who would you say is your favorite character? Me, I think I already answered this. Yeah, also you.
Same.
I really liked his uncle. I know he's not that much in the story, but he was cool.
What?
What?
From all the 1,000 characters. Yeah. No, but actually that's fair. He's stronger than what he seems. Yeah. He saved them in the end.
Exactly. He was like the brain behind the whole thing.
I don't think he was the brain behind the whole thing, but I think he's a good guy, but he's also struggling in life because he lost his daughter. So he's like drinking and has issues, but also looking out for his nephew.
Yep, I liked him. I honestly wasn't a big fan of any of the characters because they were, in my opinion, very surface level.
Okay.
Even our main character, he had like 3 emotions. So I guess from all of them, I think his uncle was the most interesting. I also liked Mickey. It seemed interesting, but it wasn't in the picture for a long time. So maybe in the next books, we'll hear a bit more about him.
But I also liked Mickey, yeah. He's really fun.
Yeah, I was like, darling, my darling.
Mickey says that he's not able to change Darrow to a gold. The other women from Sons of Ares, she says it has been done before.
The guy that he finds afterwards, no?
That's what we think. And that's what I was going to say. I think it's probably Titus, but it was an experiment gone wrong.
But how is it gone wrong if he is, in fact, in the games? And it seems like they were talking in the past, but this is happening at the same time that it's happening to Darrow.
I think when they meet Darrow, they mention that he cannot go into it with a vengeance mindset. And I think Titus had a vengeance mindset.
Oh, that
he shows that a lot. It could be Titus. And I hope we learn in the future if it was actually. And I think they just got rid of him in a sense and tried to get
But would they
Darrow.
put him in the games? Wouldn't that be
Maybe
too risky?
he was already trying to go to the...
They had to fake a whole family and,
But maybe it was done
before.
before. Maybe it was already done. They were planning on putting him where Darrow went. But then he changed or he started acting out. And they were like, okay, never mind. We're not going to use you.
I think his uncle and the dancer guy and all of them have been doing this for a while. I don't think it was the first. I think there are more reds out there.
Maybe the golds are all red.
Maybe there were no colors at all.
I do think there's people from the other colors inside. They're not all gold. I don't know. I have this feeling. And also Darrow kind of says this. Like he says, who knows? Because some of them have like things that you wouldn't associate with the gold, but the obsidians. There's a few parts where he mentions this and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Maybe they are all infiltrated.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mayhaps.
But I really liked that Darrow found out that Titus was a red because of what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody instead of gory.
I also like the fact how Severus realizes that Darrow himself is a red after he says the same word. You know, in this recording.
Yep. And he says, I deleted it because I don't think there was anything.
Uh-huh. And it's like, oh, they know. But I also think he doesn't quite fit in the societies, and he established a friendship with Darrow, so I don't think he would betray him.
No,
but
he would never.
Yeah.
He would never.
He would never.
No, bestie.
I mean, even Virginia Mustang
Didn't.
didn't betray him. I really thought she was gonna betray
Same.
him.
I was like, no way.
And then I was like, oh, wow. Go,
She has
girly.
character.
The women can't resist him. He's just so awesome.
I don't think it was that. I think it was her personality. Because she also has something against her family in a way.
Mhm, yeah, definitely. She says she didn't even consider her brother. Yeah, and I was
They're
like,
twins.
Oh. And they're twins. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, if you don't consider
Spoiler.
your twin your brother,
Yeah.
what would you consider?
Right?
Yeah. So who was your least favorite character?
Daryl.
Oh, wow.
I don't like him.
He's so written by a man coded.
Yeah. He's like the wet
That's
dream
true.
of every dude.
This whole book is kind of like, I think I'm not used to reading books written by men anymore, that it was so obvious for me that it was written by a man.
Every woman in that book was described as beautiful.
True. Oh, she's even more beautiful than EO or...
No, but for me, it's like, if first woman beautiful, second woman beautiful, third woman beautiful, I'm like, yeah, written by a dude. And you don't see women getting together in the times of survival. And I think women would stay together and they would try to protect each other because they know they are weaker than the men. And this is not described in the book. And it is a very male way of seeing the world,
Okay.
in my opinion.
I agree with you.
I agree that women would stick together for sure.
I also felt that, for me, it was obvious that it was written by a man. Even the description of the characters, like you said, it was always the men that were kind of having more power. Even when they were in positions that, for example, Mustang, she plays like a very important role. She's the one who actually brings like her brother tied up. Or at some point they are trying to devise plans and you see that she's like strategical. But it fell short in comparison to Darrow. It's like she's a shadow of him. And I didn't like that. I was like, I did think that she deserved more. Even Antonia, I know she's like kind of the enemy, but she's also a very smart person and it doesn't really show. I think she's a smart person for the way she plans stuff or acts or whatever, but it's not like Darrow is admitting that. You know what I mean? He's not talking about her in that way.
Yeah, that I agree with. Yeah, that I agree for sure.
I wanted Mustang to betray him.
That's because you don't like Darrow.
No, it's because I wanted her to be smart. He even says she's the brightest. She's the most intelligent. It would make sense that this was all a plan to trick him for her to come out on top.
Maybe.
It's written by a man. And he has to win because he's the hero.
Yeah, exactly. That's also like the kind of the plot device. And also maybe by sticking by him, she can ensure that she has a good...
But then she's like, do you understand me,
I
right?
understand.
It's just, she's just a tool. She
She's
doesn't
the
have
shadow.
agency.
Yeah, she's like the... I know.
Uh-huh.
And why is EO a martyr? I hate this part of the book.
I think
It's
she was my
like-
least favorite character.
It's like, girl, what are you killing yourself for? I don't know. I really don't understand this. It's,
No,
whatever.
I think what she's doing is really intelligent. I think she's much smarter than Daryl, and then it doesn't make sense that Daryl is so smart afterwards. Why was he so dumb when she was telling him that, you know, you are a slave? How didn't you see that your whole life? Are you so stupid that you're following propaganda?
I think
How does he suddenly become super intelligent?
Darrow was just afraid to try and understand what she was saying because there's a part after she tells him something, he says something about disrupting their lives if he thought that way, something like that. So I think he was just afraid.
I do think her like sacrificing herself was kind of to give him a push because he would never do anything because he wanted that life. This was the trigger. This was definitely a trigger for him to act and actually do something against the system. Otherwise, he would just fall on the system.
But he didn't do anything.
That's the thing.
He didn't do anything. He went home, he cried.
And he went
Then he went to her.
I mean...
He got her buried her, and then he was like,
I do think
I'm going to be dead by this. So he was, in a way,
killing himself.
he was committing, yeah.
But I do think that the act of him burying her is also kind of a statement, in the sense that if he wasn't gonna do anything, he would just continue with his life, maybe, and leave her there and just, you know what I mean? No? Maybe you don't agree, but I felt like he knew it was risky and get him killed, but he wanted to do this for her.
I agree that he wanted to do it for her, but it was also a way, just, he knew the consequences. And he probably knew that he was already going down. So he was like, let's do something good by burying her, and then...
Yeah.
He was always on top. He was always the best. I have a feeling he liked the idea of being the Helldiver and the best
of course.
In his community.
There's mentions of the kids being...
admiring him. Yeah, and he loved that. I think it was a big toll in his persona, mind, whatever, when she died, that he couldn't do anything to help her, that he was so humiliated, and that he couldn't fulfill her wishes. That, like, it was not just the loss of love, but the loss of respect and pride that probably made him be that devastated and want to risk anything for her.
I don't know where she got this faith in him. At some point she says, because I know that you're strong and you could like change things. And I'm like, where did you...
Because people look up to him, I guess.
Probably.
She wanted people to revolt.
Yeah, and I mean, she did cause an impact. Then we kind of understand that everybody in the surface is talking about her and that she's Persephone, or I don't know what.
But we don't have the information of what was behind the door and what was the gift that she had for him. Like, these two things are probably important.
I think it was a nursery.
Oh, no.
But then she also says, I don't want to bring a kid into this world. And that's also why I believe she decided to sing.
Oh, that's really sad.
And also why she called her sister and not Darrow. And to tell her.
So
I
those
think
3 things that we don't know.
Yeah, but this is my theory. I don't know.
So when you read, please tell us.
Yeah. Again, I could be totally wrong. It could be like a horse. I don't know.
A horse behind the door.
It could be like a garden as well. No, it couldn't. Maybe not.
I think. I think it can make sense.
But how did she knew that there was life above the surface, or did she knew?
That's the thing. I don't think she knew. I just think she knew that they were being slaved, and that someone is lying. You know, like she had this feeling that they were just slaves. And that's why I think it's kind of dumb to kill herself for something that she doesn't even know. And she also didn't know if Darrow would actually do something, because the first thing he did was like kind of killing himself.
Yeah.
So I think this whole thing is very like far-fetched, or...
So I think he only decided to do something about it when he saw that there was people living on the surface, that there was a whole town on the surface, a whole city.
Or when he saw the light for the first time, and he's like very shocked.
He only decided then.
That's why I say that he didn't really fully understand what she already did. And then I'm supposed to believe that he's so freaking smart, you know?
But I think he's only smart after he turns into a gold, because he gets all this knowledge and information.
But I do think he's smart also from the times where he was a red. For example, in the way he always, of his decisions during the war, about the food and the water, I do think that he's smarter than the others, because he knows what is to ration and...
But then it's kind of the...
It's the mix of the two things.
Exactly.
Of the knowledge of both sides.
Of having to survive and what the golds know or should know or how to act, etc.
If you were a color, which one would you be? I don't remember all of the
colors.
I'm transparent.
I don't know. I have an answer.
I don't want to.
Probably green.
I would love, because it's technology.
Yeah, I like that.
I would love to be a purple.
I feel like it can't get more simple than this. You cannot make an idea simpler than this. Red, slaves, blood. Pink, pleasure, women. Right? Gray, soldiers, because gray, war. Yeah. I don't know.
Now you're making me feel bad for liking this book.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's completely
blue
fine.
Astronomers, because they're in the sky, which is blue. Do you understand? No,
But I also would think red is a strong color, though.
But that's the whole point, because
Yeah.
they're going to revolt.
Yeah.
And gold, I mean,
Gold is
richness,
Money, yep.
money,
Yeah. money.
Royalty must be
funny
in a rich man's world.
Mickey, what color is Mickey? Is he a
Purple.
pink? Is it purple? What are purples again?
They're artists.
Okay. But Matteo is a pink, right?
the butt boy.
Yeah.
Call him butt boy.
That's so
I'm
true.
salmon pink.
Maybe
Salmon pink.
You know,
maybe I would
I'm
be
lime.
a blue.
What are
blues?
Buddha, Buddha,
From all of these, I think.
What are blues? The
Astronomers.
astronomers. Yeah.
Either that or also purple.
It must be so fun.
They're just leaving me alone, girls. Where do bookworms fit into this category?
Yeah. I think there could all be books. Probably there are no books, by the way. Probably
Sad.
they're banned.
He does
For the
listen
lowers.
to the classicals, right?
Yeah, Great
While
Gatsby. and all
he
of
mentions this that he read, but maybe not in their physical form. Maybe they have knowledge of it from Earth. Also, this is very complicated for me, like the knowledge of them being in a different planet and them talking about Earth. And I didn't understand if there's still people on Earth or not. I know that golds conquered the Earth, but are they like actively living there? Or I feel like I also didn't get to understand much of that.
I really love the idea that they left Earth to conquer other planets, and then they were like, oh, I have to pay taxes to Earth. No, we're going to conquer it. I love that.
Is this what's gonna happen to us?
Musk, don't get ideas. I know you love tax evasion, but... That was probably my favorite part of the book, when he came to the surface and he was learning about how high reds were sort of being enslaved by having the same life that we common mortals have. They go to work and can trade their work for goods, and they end up spending our dumb stuff, and that's how they live their lives. It's like, we. We. It was like, oh, perfect criticism to today's society, you know? But then it didn't really develop it much. And I was sad.
So, Anna, you rated it 5 stars.
I did.
Did you change your mind after we discussed this?
I've been changing my mind after reading other books.
You were infatuated
I was.
with
But
the changes?
I still think it's a very high 4. And the audiobook is still
the best way to go about it.
So listening to the graphic audio did make me give it a higher rate, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it, Rina?
Maybe a 2.5.
Yeah.
And you know, it's this thing like,
Oh, wow.
I know that you're gonna be shocked. I was thinking about it, like, is it a 3? But it's not a 3. If I was reading it by myself, I would probably DNF this book.
Me too.
Maybe I would have powered through until the war or something. I was making myself read it at this point, and I'm like, I'm not actively enjoying this. Just the fact that I'm not a fan of a genre doesn't mean I'm not gonna like the book, but that's what happened in this case.
Yeah.
That's I really couldn't relate to what was happening, and it's really not where my interest lay.
Mm-hmm.
So like in this specific book that happened, like it didn't surprise me or anything. So I would say a 2.5. I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't think it spoke to me, and I thought it was boring. I like the concept, and it was, well, let's say, written, well... well, I take this back. It was a good concept, but it didn't reach me. What about you, Trisha?
I feel really bad.
Drum roll.
No, I like books that have complex characters. What? I like but I cannot lie. I like books with complex characters. Literary writing. And this does not deliver that. It's actually the opposite. The book has a lot of cliches. Like, it's cliche after cliche after cliche. Like, the first sentence, I was hyped about the first sentence, but the first sentence is a cliche. I would have lived in peace, but my enemies brought me war. The fact that a dude as a main character has a martyr as a wife, and she's this manic dream pixie girl or whatever it's called, who is like so, inspiring and everyone loves her and she dies for an idea, and then he's like revenging the death of his wife. You killed my wife, I'm gonna kill you. And the whole thing is fueled through his rage and through his manly revenge mission. I was expecting more depth. Was expecting more from an idea that had a lot of potential, but sometimes it felt like it was a patchwork of other ideas. Like you mentioned 1984, I guess. So this dystopian thing with survival, like
Hunger Games fan fiction.
Like Hunger Games, like Lord of the Flies a bit, with this trying to survive and people doing really awful things just to... I don't know, there's probably other sci-fi stories where he got his ideas, and like how simplistic the system was with the colors. I expected more depth, and for him maybe to just decide on one or two things. Oh, and even Lord of the Rings, in the sense there was these people who were really simple and danced and had songs and alcohol to have fun and survive. Like this is like the Hobbits. You know, the Hobbits did this as well. So it was like a patchwork of many different things put together, explained in a very simplistic way, and with these staccato sentences. Is it or is it not?
Yes.
This is very fantasy, and I completely understand. And this is why I will recommend this book to a lot of people, like people who like fast-paced fantasy, maybe high-stakes fantasy and sci-fi. This is the perfect book for so many people, and that's why it has such a high rating. But it's the opposite of what I like.
Yeah.
So I like fast-paced, but I don't like cliche after cliche after cliche after staccato sentences and bam, 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 bam.
I also noticed this about the sentences. They all look the same. Like the chapters all start in the same way.
But and this is fine. I swear, it's just not my taste. And for me, it's also like 2.5.
Yeah, like a lot.
2. I don't know what I'm gonna give it, but it's not my style at all. I feel really bad because I can see the potential in it.
You don't need to feel bad. It's just not a book for you.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Exactly, but I mean, I could see how other people would like it.
Yeah,
I could totally see it. It's just not something I could relate to, and disappointed me. It didn't meet my expectations from when I started it or when I read like the description.
Yeah,
well, I liked it.
Yeah, and I think it's the type of book that you would like, in the sense that, for example, the fast-paced thing is a lot like Fourth Wing, and some sentences like this staccato style that you're so into the world that you're really living it. But it was just not for me, especially with how the main character was and his manly way of seeing things. It kind of threw me off.
And also like a lot of characters that were not developed well. It's like, oh, let's put a lot of people in the mix, so we don't have to explain.
That I agree with.
Like,
there were too many characters.
Useless as sometimes.
The only character that I felt for was Pax. But yeah, a lot of characters with names that you did not need to know. That I agree with. At least for now.
We can't also forget that this is
a series.
It's a series. And maybe it gets better. But I will not stick around to see.
I think this would be really cool as a series, like a TV show. Yes. I think, or even as an anime, I can see it. It would be like Solo Leveling. Like,
this is Solo Leveling through and through.
Yeah. It's just, maybe
it's aura farming. It's
yeah, right? It's also a man's wet dream, both of them.
She mad.
No.
She mad.
I'm not. I enjoyed graphical audio, 5 out of 5. Like the experience, really cool. Not the story, the audio. The voice actors, the narrators, amazing.
I also like that. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the accent of Daryl.
Me too. I would not imagine that it would be like kind of British though. So when I started listening, I think
it's more Scottish.
No, it's Irish.
Or that.
What also made this reading experience very interesting was the fact that we were discussing on Fable.
Yeah.
And every time I was finishing a chapter, I was like checking out to see what people were writing there. I like this a lot, the fact that people were interacting. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about this, Yeah. So Same. That was really nice. And I want to thank mostly 2 people that joined us. It made it better.
It did.
It made it easier for me to continue. So thank you.
So thank you, Amara and Yasmin. I hope I'm pronouncing your names correctly. For joining us, it made it so much better.
I'm curious to know their rating.
A 5, that's me.
Yeah? So you understand each other.
Yes.
Yeah. You found your book besties.
Yeah.
My new book bestie.
Yes, right? We got demoted,
Yeah.
Trisha. It is like this.
This is what we're here for.
And we rise together.
Book besties rising.
Rising.
And that was it, folks.
Let's rise together.
Thank you so much for listening to our shenanigans. Let us know in our socials or here if you agree with us, if you don't. We like the drama.
Or more like, do you agree with Anna or do you agree with Reina and Trisha?
Yeah, true. We have to see who wins. No, it's not a competition. I'm kidding.
So we win, do we?
I don't think so. It's very well rated.
Yeah,
so
I know.
we are the minority, Trisha.
True.
Anyways. Well, see you next time.
Yeah.
See you next time. And don't forget, if your book bestie said it's good,
It might not be. But you should read it anyways.
yes.
Hey,
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.